This short presentation will cover secondary synergy codes for standards reference grading. This will begin being used in the 2020-2021 school year in middle school as we begin the standards reference grading implementation in 6th grade in middle school. The purpose of this presentation is to go over codes which will be used to help us better communicate with the stakeholders, parents, students, other teachers, administration, etc., because we know that grades are to communicate what students know and can do. The purpose of these codes is to help further clarify that in the Synergy system. We have 2 learning goals of this presentation: to understand updated gradebook codes for use in Synergy with standards reference grading, and understand scenarios for which each gradebook code would be used. This is an example of a 1-page document which will be posted on the district website. We will be going through each of these codes in depth. Why do these codes exist? As we have begun training and understanding standards reference grading, many questions have arose that have allowed us to understand greater how to better communicate through our grading system with the parents and the students about what is happening in class. As you've learned about standards reference grading, you may have asked questions similar to these. What do I give a student on a learning assessment or activity who refuses to work? How do I document when a student misses the learning opportunities when they are absent? How will parents know the difference between a 0 when no learning is demonstrated and a 0 when a student refused to do any work? These codes will hopefully help us communicate those exact differences. First off, no evidence for any reason is recorded as NE, meaning no evidence, or NEA, meaning no evidence absent. There's a clear difference between using the NE, no evidence, the NE, no evidence absent, and 0 in the gradebook. So first off, we use NE for no evidence when, for example, a student was in attendance but turned in evidence completely unrelated to learning. They just put their name on their paper, they drew a picture, wrote IDK, they did not submit any evidence related to the learning target. Ultimately, no evidence is no evidence, no matter the circumstance. We use NEA, no evidence absent, when, for example, a student was not in attendance, or the student was not in attendance, did not submit evidence after returning to class. We use 0 when a student turned in evidence related to learning but did not demonstrate progress towards foundational knowledge of the target, even if help is given. Maybe they understand another target and are doing that. Maybe they are able to represent some learning of your content, but the learning is not related to the target being assessed, even with the help is given. 0 should be used when there is no evidence related to the learning target, even when help is given, but they're turning in some form of evidence related to learning. How will these codes count in Synergy? Please take a moment and look through this table. The first column shows an overall score for this target for 4 different students. These 3, Test 3, Test 2, Test 1, represent 3 different learning assessments that have been given to these 4 students. Now let's look at line 1. Line 1, there are 3 pieces of evidence. First evidence, the student got a 2. Second, the student got a 3. The third was entered as an NE, no evidence, for whatever reason. You will see this 0 here. Because of how Synergy works, there will be a 0 associated with the NE or the NEA. However, If you look at this line, the student got a 2, the student got a 3, their overall target score is a 3. How Synergy calculates scores: if there's only 2 scores related to learning, it takes the most recent score. Let's look at this second line. The student got a 3 on the first one. For some reason, nothing is entered here. It is blank. Third one, 0, no evidence. So Synergy is calculating this one score related to the target to give the overall score as a 3. As you've heard in previous presentations, the power law comes into play when there are 3 scores related to learning to calculate that cumulative target score. Now look at line 3. Blank, a no evidence, another blank. So the only score given for this target is a no evidence, which will give the student an overall target score of a 0. Why is this the case? If you think about a student who may do well in class in August and September, they're understanding things, they're getting good scores on their targets, 2s, 3s, etc. But then work gets harder, say October, November, and December. The student stops turning in any work, puts their head down, and doesn't submit any work. In this case, if the NE or the NEA does not calculate to something, the student could, in theory, pass a course just on targets learned in August and September if the targets from October to December, the no evidences, didn't calculate to a 0. They will only calculate to a 0 when nothing else is entered for that target. As you can see in line 1 and line 2, when there is evidence, the 0 is kicked out for the NE. Same thing on line 3 for the no evidence absent. It will overall calculate to a 0 if there is not another score related to the target. When we think about zeros as an overall target score, not talking about individual assessment assignment opportunities, a cumulative target score, they probably will not happen very often. So when we're giving a 0 as a cumulative target score, here are some questions to ask yourself. Is the missing evidence required? For example, have you collected a piece of evidence since then that could replace what was not previously submitted? Or was the evidence not submitted only part of the target? Or was it missing due to a school-related absence? You might also ask, do I have any evidence that shows progress towards the target? Or have I tried to gather evidence in a non-traditional way, such as an opportunity during class, seminar, etc.? In the end, use your professional judgment to determine if a student has truly earned a 0 as a cumulative target score. Now when we think about posting grades, students with missing work who can recover evidence within a reasonable time frame can earn an FIE, not an F. An FIE stands for an F with insufficient evidence. What does that mean? A student has a 0 for multiple target scores and or has not submitted sufficient evidence to pass the course. Opportunities for a student to submit the missing evidence or retake assessments will be determined by the teacher. When you think about how we might have used an incomplete in the past, maybe a student missed a significant portion of the semester due to an illness, other reasons, this FIE will represent when insufficient evidence has been given, and the student doesn't have enough knowledge to show they have passed the course. We can post an FIE. This will be a teacher override post. It will not post for you. It would be your choice as a teacher to post this saying, hey, this student could recover if they would submit this evidence. When to give an F. A student has submitted evidence for all targets, but target scores calculate to an F. It'll do that in Synergy. Or the student cannot make up the amount of missing evidence within a reasonable time frame. In summary, the new gradebook codes that will be available in a standards referenced gradebook are NE for no evidence, NEA, no evidence absence, and then a posting on a report card, FIE, meaning failing due to insufficient evidence. If you have any questions, you may reach out to a curriculum specialist or your instructional coach or principal.